Success in finances is not only about how hard you work, how much you earn, or how intelligently you invest. According to the Bible, it is also deeply connected to wisdom in speech. Many people pray for increase, ask God for open doors, and put in long hours of effort, yet they unknowingly weaken their own progress through careless words. Scripture teaches principles for earning, managing, and multiplying resources, but it also teaches restraint. There is power in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. There are certain things that, if shared too freely, can disrupt focus, attract unnecessary opposition, and even damage the very blessings you are trying to build. When you understand how to guard your words, you protect not only your peace but also your prosperity. One of the first things Scripture implies we should be careful about is sharing all our plans with everyone. It is natural to feel excited when a new idea forms in your heart. A business concept, a career move, a financial goal. These things bring energy and hope. The temptation is to talk about them immediately, to seek validation and encouragement from as many people as possible. However, the Bible encourages wisdom and counsel rather than broadcasting intentions to a crowd. In Book of Proverbs 15:22, we are reminded that plans succeed with proper counsel. Counsel is different from exposure. Wise counsel involves a small number of trustworthy, experienced individuals who can offer insight. Crowds, on the other hand, often bring noise. When you speak too soon about something that is still forming, you expose it to premature criticism. And not everyone who hears your idea will respond with faith. Some will project their own fears, limitations, and disappointments onto your vision. Even subtle doubt can affect your motivation. God often develops things in private before revealing them publicly. Consider how Joseph's early dream sharing led to jealousy and rejection, or how David was anointed long before he ruled. Even Jesus spent years in preparation before his ministry was visible. Silence during the early stages of a plan is not secrecy rooted in fear, it is protection rooted in wisdom. Sometimes the best way to nurture a vision is to let it grow quietly until it has strong enough roots to withstand outside opinions. Another area where caution is necessary is in revealing how much money you make. In today's culture, income is often discussed casually, sometimes even proudly. Yet biblically, money is treated as a sensitive matter. In Book of Proverbs 11:13, we see that a trustworthy person keeps a matter confidential. Sharing your exact income can stir up comparisons, expectations, and pressures that you never intended to create. Some people may begin to measure themselves against you. Others may quietly resent your progress. Still others may suddenly feel entitled to your financial support. Jesus taught a principle of discretion in giving in Gospel of Matthew 6:3, encouraging believers not to publicize acts of generosity. The principle extends beyond charity. Financial humility protects your heart and your relationships. When income becomes public knowledge, it can distort how others perceive you. You may feel pressure to maintain an image or lifestyle to match their expectations. Instead of making decisions based on wisdom and long-term stewardship, you may begin making choices based on appearance. True prosperity is not loud. It is steady, disciplined, and often quiet. When finances are handled discreetly, they are less likely to be influenced by pride or outside demands. Closely related to income is the subject of financial strategy. Sharing general principles of saving, investing, and stewardship can be helpful and even inspiring. However, revealing specific strategies, partnerships, and detailed plans can expose you to unnecessary risks. Book of Proverbs 27:12 teaches that the prudent see danger and take refuge. Strategic thinking requires privacy. When too many people know your next move, you lose a layer of protection. Not everyone who appears supportive truly desires your success. Some may compete quietly. Others may attempt to copy without understanding the process that led to your position. In Gospel of Luke 14:28, Jesus speaks about calculating the cost before building a tower. Planning is intentional and thoughtful. It happens before the public announcement. Financial strategies should be discussed only with those who are directly involved or qualified to advise. Excessive openness can lead to distraction, interference, or even sabotage. Silence in this area is not selfishness, it is stewardship. Another area requiring discernment is sharing every inner struggle. We live in an era where transparency is often equated with authenticity. While honesty is important, Scripture also emphasizes guarding the heart. Book of Proverbs 4:23 urges us to protect our hearts because everything we do flows from it. Not every fear, doubt, or financial anxiety needs to be broadcast. Some struggles are meant to be processed in prayer before being shared with others. In Book of Psalms 42:5, David speaks to his own soul before addressing others. There is a powerful lesson in that. When you immediately expose every internal battle, you may receive advice rooted more in human opinion than divine wisdom. Some people may respond with judgment rather than compassion. Others may unintentionally magnify your fears. Vulnerability is valuable, but it must be directed to safe and spiritually mature individuals. Protecting your inner battles can preserve your focus and prevent unnecessary discouragement. Silence, at times, strengthens faith because it forces you to lean on God first. There is also wisdom in not announcing prosperity too early. When financial progress begins, excitement is natural. You may want to celebrate publicly to share the good news of your breakthrough. However, Scripture shows us that premature exposure can create problems. In Book of Genesis 37:5, Joseph's early sharing of his dream stirred jealousy among his brothers. The issue was not the dream itself, but the timing of its revelation. Book of Ecclesiastes 3:7 reminds us that there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. Financial growth, like a seed, needs time to mature. When you announce success before it is stable, you invite scrutiny and comparison. External expectations can create pressure to maintain an image rather than maintain discipline. Applause can inflate ego, leading to overspending or overextending. The strongest financial foundations are often built quietly. When the results are undeniable, they speak for themselves without the need for early promotion. Equally important is being selective about who hears your goals. Book of Proverbs 13:20 teaches that walking with the wise leads to wisdom. The environment around your goals matters. If you consistently share your aspirations with negative or cynical individuals, their words can erode your confidence. It does not take many voices of doubt to weaken enthusiasm. When you feel compelled to explain every financial move, every insight, and every lesson learned, you may open yourself to unnecessary debate or manipulation. Jesus demonstrated restraint before his accusers in Gospel of Matthew 27:14. Bakuder, silence in that moment was not weakness but authority. In financial matters, you do not need to justify every decision. Some people ask questions not to learn but to criticize. Others may use information to compete or interfere. Strategic silence preserves energy and focus. Leadership often involves knowing more than you say and doing more than you announce. These principles are not about secrecy born from pride or fear. They are about stewardship. Just as you guard your investments, you must guard your words. Speech has the power to shape perception, influence relationships, and direct focus. When you learn to control your tongue, you strengthen your discipline. Financial growth requires consistency, patience, and clarity. Excessive talking can dilute all three. The Bible repeatedly emphasizes faithfulness in small things. In Gospel of Luke 16:10, we are reminded that faithfulness in little leads to greater responsibility. Guarding your words is part of that faithfulness. Silence can create space for God to work without unnecessary human interference. It can protect your plans from doubt, your income from envy, your strategies from competition, your struggles from exploitation, your progress from pride, your goals from negativity, and your knowledge from misuse. When you practice thoughtful restraint, your growth becomes steadier. Your decisions become less influenced by public opinion and more rooted in conviction. Your generosity becomes purer because it is not performed for recognition. Your confidence becomes quieter but stronger. Prosperity is not only about numbers in an account. It is about stability, peace, and purpose. And sometimes the greatest protection for all three is a disciplined mouth. In a world that constantly encourages sharing, posting, and announcing, choosing silence can feel countercultural. Yet biblical wisdom often runs against cultural trends. Silence is not passivity. It is intentional control. It is understanding that not every blessing needs publicity and not every battle needs commentary. As you learn to guard what should remain private, you create an environment where your finances can grow without unnecessary pressure. In doing so, you align not only your work ethic, but also your words with principles that lead to lasting success.